Have you ever seen a quilt and wondered how'd they do that? Well, today I'm going to demonstrate the first step of the process by making a basic quilt block. Measuring roughly 9 by 9 inches, this can be replicated as many times as you need to make a full quilt top, which would ultimately end up producing something similar to what you see right here. Before starting the project, we will assemble 4 complementary fabric pieces, binding clips, a rotary cutter, and a measuring guide. We will also be using a sewing machine. Before we get to sewing, we must cut the pieces of fabric, and in order to save us all some time, I've sped up this lengthy process a bit. Luckily, this pattern utilizes only squares and rectangles, which makes this part pretty straightforward. Fabrics A and B will be cut into one 3.5 inch square and one 6.5 by 3.5 inch rectangle. Fabric C will be cut into two 3.5 inch squares. And lastly, the focal point of the block, fabric D, will be cut into one 3.5 inch square. Now we will start to assemble the actual quilt block. The polka dot fabric, which is fabric C in the left-hand corner, will attach to the peach fabric to form the first line of the quilt block. These fabrics will be faced wrong sides together, which means the pretty sides facing up will face each other in a sandwich, and they will be sewn together with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. After completing the first line of the quilt block, we will move on to the second line. This has us attaching the 3.5 inch blue square to the middle square on one end, and the peach 3.5 inch square to the other side of the center piece. Finally, we move to the last line, which is attaching the square polka dot fabric to the rectangle blue fabric. Once each row is completed, we will work on attaching each row to one another, starting with row 1 to row 2 and row 2 to row 3. Once all the rows have been sewn together, you can lay it all out, press it really well, trim the sides, and this block is ready to go.